Welcome to the AI Preview Show with me, Davey B, Bomber McCormack and Dylan Fitzsimons. We're going to be previewing the second round heats of the Annie Kirby Memorial at Limerick and also the Shelbourne Park Open 600 heats. Let's review last week's first round. Fitzy, what did you make of the first round?
I thought it was some top class racing, obviously. There were a few upsets now. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the clash that we wanted with Billy's Dave and Ballymac area. They just ran into each other at the first bend when Jacob Tashadelic run off the corner. They left Ronnie White's dog in front. Vigorous Buck. He took the opportunity well. Unfortunately, we lost Billy's Dave from the competition then, which is obviously a shame, but she's in the 600 in Shelbourne now. So Limerick's loss is Shelbourne's gain, so to say. You'd have to start with Explosive Boy. He was the most impressive winner of the round. He was foot perfect from boxes, recorded the fastest time by a fairway, although the clocks don't really tell a tale of Saturday night. The track was perfect for the first few races, and then the weather seemed to take over. It looked terrible conditions down there by about 8 o'clock, so I wouldn't pay too much heed to the later races clocks and what the winners did, more just look at what they beat and how they beat them. That's probably the best way of getting about it. But it was a brilliant night's race, and it was a great start to the Talking Dogs on TV. It should get even better this week, as the card in Shelbourne's an awful lot better this week. It was quite a poor card last week for once. So I'm really looking forward to Saturday night now, just ticking down the days to watch them top class racing again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it myself. Bomber, what did you make of last week?
Yeah, look, Davey, it was just top class race, as Dylan said. The Billy Steve and Ballymac aerial race didn't really go out as we thought, but Billy Steve, as she led, she came out of the box, and then Jacob Tashadelic just ran off the bend and took her clean out, and Ballymac aerial got caught into trouble as well. So look, it was a messy race, but that's Limerick. I think we learned a lot more about Limerick after seeing the dogs, in the first round. It's a sharp run to the corner. You probably want to be in front. It's hard to get across. I thought we saw in Clonabult's heat as well, like Explosive Boy was just out and gone, and he probably struggled to go early on. But look, it's a short run to the bend. Explosive Boy was definitely the takeaway performance. 15.87 to the third bend. It's the third bend clock in Limerick. Like New Taylor ran in the Limerick last year in the pup stake, and his fastest clock to third bend is 15.95. So look, Explosive Boy is definitely the dog to beat at the moment. I'm not just sure about the track getting slower. I watched a few of the heats in the middle of where people said the track got slower. There was a lot of trouble in them heats, so it's hard to know. At the end of the night, the track seemed to come good again. I think it was the Droopy's Fitz and Viper's Buzz. He kind of put a hole in that theory. But look, you'll find out if Explosive Boy keeps repeating them turbine clocks, he's going to be hard to beat.
He definitely is. Explosive by name, explosive by nature. Right then, let's get into the action. Heat 1 of the Con Annie Kirby Memorial. We've got Bombardier in 1, Epic News in 2, Adamant Best in 3, Bruno in 4, Belna Medina Roxy in 5, and in 6, Clonabult. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
Just at the likely prices, I'll side with Belna Medina Roxy in 5 here. I thought she ran a huge race last week in what wasn't her first look at Limerick. In the end, the sprint mark appeared on her card after we did the video last week. It was an okay sprint. I thought she'd do a bit better in 18.97, but it was a quick turnaround from the Newbridge Bitch stake, and it was our first look at the track. Limerick's not the easiest place to run without a look, as we saw on Saturday night. A few dogs got lost. She showed huge pace last week off a missed break. She was impeding on the run up, just had her ground taken, and then she was badly cut off at the second. She ended up on the fence, and the dog cut right in front of her. She had to dive off the outside. She has 2 stayers either side of her, and Bruno and Clonabult. I don't think either of them can get near her to the corner off any semblance of a level start. She has the ability to fly up the outside here. Obviously, Adamant Best in 3 is a massive early pacer for John Rainsford. He showed that last week. He went 5 clear, although he's beat very comfortably. He's sort of limited in this class on his overall clocks. Now he's doing big runs to the third bend, but this sort of grid, he's just going to struggle. There's always going to be something turning second here that can do 28, 40 or 50 in a Kirby. And he just can't do that yet. He's all out for 350, 400 yards. He's probably near enough as good as anything in the competition. For what grade he is overall, he's definitely the best early pacer. But I thought him and Epic News were the wrong way around here as well. Epic News always ran from the outside. He is seated inside, but I think he'll edge off a tad. He's not the strongest runner, but he's huge 2 to 3. He ran in a very good race last week that All About Ted won. Ballymac Cash Out was in it as well. He showed big pace down the back, but he was moving off all the time. The Bombardier dog, Pat Buckley's in one, he's a perfect dog for a short 6-band trip, in my opinion. He bangs the box virtually every night. It wouldn't surprise me if he leads these out for the first 20 yards, and then he just gets left behind for about 200 yards, and then he takes off. He's a real stayer type, good trapper, lacks a bit of pace, bit of tactical speed for the first 250 yards, then sticks on again. I suppose he's well drawn in this race to go close, but I thought there's a potential for 2 and 3 to land on top of each other on the corner here, and Ben on Medina Roxy might just go around them on the outside. Then I thought she ran well enough last week, just that likely 6, 7, 8 to 1. I'm very happy to make a case for them sort of prices to lead on the outside here and hold on from the fast finishers in 1 and 6.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 1 is Trap 5, Ben Medina Roxy. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting heat as well. Just coming back, look, I think Clonabout's going to win this. I just think, look, he doesn't exactly suit the Limerick track. He needs a run to the corner, and he's not a real genuine wide seed. He does come across. We've seen last week off the last bend, I think he cut the head off. Was it the Envoy dog or one of the Heffernan's dogs in the last bend, the 4 dog? Look, I just think he's getting a drop in grade. I think 2 and 3 are definitely drawn the wrong way around. I think 3 is a big bogey for 2. Epic, he has to lead to win. And if 3 troubles him at the early yards at all, I think, they're sitting ducks up front. The bitch in 5 that Dylan fancies, she is quite fast. She's also the youngest dog left in the stake. Good Cody went out last week. Now she's the youngest in the stake. She showed good pace. Look, I think her and 4 are really novice pups. Like, Bruno ran great last week, but he's a real pup. Like, he's green as grass. He's probably going to need a few races under his belt to count. Look, Bombardier, I was disappointed with him last week. He was out in 5, but I thought the heat was weak enough, and the way it panned out, he disappointed me a little. He's in trap 1. As Dylan said, he can bomb the box, but he doesn't really go anywhere for the first few yards, and then he flies home. If Clonabout didn't get a race early on, he could pick up the 2 in front, Epic News and Adamant Best. Look, I'm going to go Clonabout. I've picked him anti-post. I just think he showed a lot of pace in behind. Like, he was an explosive boy last week, probably why people are not giving him as much credit. I thought he showed a lot of pace in behind last week. Like, he absolutely destroyed the Royal Star in the back straight last week after getting in trouble at the first bend. Now, look, he's not a dog that suits Limerick's trip. He needs a run to the corner, and he does want to cut across, and that longer run to the bend probably gives him the chance to do that, as we saw in the 600 in Shelbourne. But look, I just think he's getting a bit of a drop in grade compared to Heat was in last week, and I just think if he's going to win in Limerick over this trip, I think this is the night he's going to do it. I just think 4 and 5 are really green pups, and 2 and 3 cause each other any trouble, they're probably going to fold up. So I think he could just get a lovely run. I think it's between him and Bombardier just getting a run, and he probably pick up the 2 and 3. But look, I'll stick with Clonabout. So I've picked him anti-post, so I'll stay loyal to him for this heat.
So Bomber's selection for Heat 1 is Trap 6, Clonabout. Heat 2, we've got Luminous Light in 1, Agent Stanley in 2, Cooler Vanny Lily in 3, Scarlet O'Meara in 4, One Time Only in 5, and in 6, Racket Hole Leo. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I really like Agent Stanley in this heat. I was impressed with him last week. I mean, I know that's hard to believe. People probably wonder why. He was literally the 48 dog to qualify. He qualified by 100th of a second as the 9th fastest 4th. But my God, this is some dropping grade from the race he was in last week. Like, he was in with All About Ted, Epic News, and Ballymac Cash Out last week. If any of them three were in this race, they'd represent the 4th or 6th shot. And he'd never been around last week. That was well known. The track conditions really weren't in his favour. I was talking to his trainer on Monday, and I think he was still drying out from Saturday night. He said the weather was just desperate. Like, this dog is all about early speed. He missed this kick, got badly crowded on the run-up by 2 moving off. Another inside seat that wanted to be seated. I don't engage in Stanley wants to now at all. I think he'll move off, but I have 3 moving off. The dog in 5 one time only needs a seed, even though he's an inside seed. So he's not going to pose any problems moving in. The O'Mara dog in 4 showed pace and went up dead straight from 4 last week. The Racket Holiday Out dog is a big 90-pound dog out wide. He was very impressive last week, but it was just the right sort of race from to break his duck now. He had a tight early pace railer in 5. He just got that one sweep and run at them into the second bend, and he could take it up at the third bend. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near his privilege for that sort of run in this race. There's an awful lot of early pace in here. The one time only dog in 5 rockets to the bend. He just missed the corner completely from the inside last week, which came as no surprise. I don't think he'd had a look around. He didn't want trap 1. This should suit him more, but there's a lot of pace for him to clear. The O'Mara dog in 4, as I said, has went to the bend well last week. I don't think he'll clear Agent Stanley off any sort of a level break. The Kulvani Lily Bitch in 3 ran well last week behind Fabulous Azura, but that was a 4-dog race which played right into her hands. She's a big powerhouse of a bitch now. She might not be as lucky here in this race. There's 3 or 4 early pace dogs, and there's a dog in 1, dog in 2 that both run off the corner. I can't see her getting a run here at all. She might run on to qualify past dogs that need to lead that haven't led, but I can't make a case for her to win the race now. The Luminous dog in 1 is a good drop, but he's also not a railer. He's made absolutely no attempt to turn the bends on 1 or 2 occasions from the inside. He'd probably be best suited out in 3 or 4. There is a huge run in him. He flew down the back last week behind Sing Long Sally, but I can't see him getting to the front in this race early, and that might just have him beaten off. I thought any sort of level break here, Agent Stanley can trap out, edge out to the middle a little bit, and if he makes any attempt to turn the first bend better than he did last week, I think he'll just do these to the third bend. There's no rain on the radar at all. Track's liable to be very fast. That can be good enough if he fronts off here against a few short runners.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 2 is Trap 2, Agent Stanley. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, I think this is an open enough heat, to be fair. Agent Stanley, he should be a middle or wide seed. I thought he ran great last week as well, to be fair. First look at Limerick, he was wrongly drawn. He was in with Ballymac Cash Out and Epic News and them types. So, look, I think if he gets a run, he's a major player in this race as well. He's massive early pace. Like, he did a 2:02 in Shelbourne one night. On nowadays track, that's basically as good as you can do. I don't think anything's broken 2 seconds in over a year and a half, maybe. So, Agent Stanley, he's getting a drop in grade from last week. 1 time only. He's an inside C, but he's well drawn in 5. I think he wants to be out there, same as Dylan. I fancied him last week. He led early and he moved off, and then Vallegro got up his inside and kind of blew him away in the back straight. When he got a look at him, he kind of ran middle to wide all over the track then. I thought the Kulvani bitch ran great last week as well, to be fair. Now, she was in a 4-dog heat, but she showed a lot of pace in the race. I just think if Agent Stanley comes out, he's going to move across and it's going to be hard for her to get a run. I also agree with Dylan. I think the Luminous dog is well drawn, but he's not really a bang railer. He looks an obviously pup as well. Now, not names. I watched him in Shelbourne a couple of times. Last night, he ran that Kirby trial stick and he just didn't even turn left at the first bend. And he'd been around the track before, so it's an open enough contest. Look, I'm going to go for 1 time only. I just think he's well drawn. I think he's in his box now, and he'll show a lot more probably than he did last week. He gave the race away last week by being on the inside. Agent Stanley could just move out. If the Kulvani bitch came out at all, they might collide. But look, it's between 2 and 5, I think. Whichever one of them leads will probably win the race. 6 ran well last week. Dylan fancied him. Fair play, tipped him up. He was a big price. He's a big dog. He got the race panned out well from last week, but it could fall the same if 2 and 5 got in each other's way early on. The race could just fall for him. He's a strong runner. Look, I'll go for one time only, just in the fact I think he's well drawn 5. And if Agent Stanley gets any trouble early on with between Luminous and the bitch in 3, I just think he's going to get solo around. So I'll go with one time only.
So Bomber's selection for Heat 2 is drop 5 at one time only. Heat 3, we've got Those Days Are Gone in 1, Ballymac Merlin in 2, Derby's Delight in 3, Ballymac Belvoot in 4, Deadly Tornado in 5, and in 6, Rock Along Rocket. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I came down on Ballymac Merlin here. I sort of made a bit of a match race between the two brothers, to be honest, Merlin and Belvoot. I have no doubt in my mind Belvoot's the fastest dog in this race, from all I can see anyway, on these dogs' cards. But he's a tight enough railer. He's a massive stayer. It's like Limerick just... I thought Limerick could suit him moving from Tralee, but it might just happen he had too fast for him in this curb, you know. He's going to have to do it the hard way at likely prohibitive prices. You're happy to leave him. I thought Merlin was well drawn between two dogs that wouldn't go to the bend exceptionally well. It might just give Ballymac Merlin the chance he needs to front off here on the inside. I thought the Rock Along Rocket dog, well, obviously it's the only wide dog, but he looks a certain leader out wide. He went to the bend very well against Romeo Magico last weekend. He didn't even time his start that well, but he was just gone, and he just tore to the bend, took a bad knock off the corner. I mean, I don't think there's any dog in this race as Romeo Magico's pace, so there's a chance Rock Along Rocket could front off here, and he'll lead them for a long way. I mean, it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility I could hang on. I haven't put him in a huge price. I think I have him in 11 to 2, 6 to 1 sort of, which is likely to be shorter than he will be. But I thought Ballymac Merlin will lead 1. Just Derby's Delight in 3 has been a strange dog in its races. It's sort of swerved at the start a few times, especially from trap 1 in Shelbourne, just swerved right into the middle of the track. I thought there's a chance him and Ballymac Belvoot will come together early here. Deadly Tornado will be heading left from 5 as well. Could get messy up the middle. If 2 was to lead 1, 2 will probably win the race. Those Days Are Gone was a huge eye catcher last week. He just missed the corner completely. He just got cut off, ran onto the grass, flew home. He was beat 7 lengths. He probably would have been beat 3.5 in a clean run. Then you're talking about a dog that's done 28.45, 28.50. He'd probably be a lot shorter than he is for this race. I think he's 7 or 8 to 1 at the minute. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets taken. He has his draw on the fence. If he can hold Ballymac Merlin to the corner, he has a huge chance. I'd be happier to take the chance Ballymac Merlin will just lead him at the corner. I could see the same thing happening to Those Days Are Gone in this race. He could just have his nose cut off right on the corner with a dog coming across him, and he could be forced to spin out wide. It's not a race I'd be having any sort of strong bet in, but I thought Ballymac Merlin will win, and you have to expect Ballymac Belvoot to thread a path through somehow to finish 2nd or 3rd and qualify as well. They're such a strong runner. He has a few lengths in hands on these dogs, so you'd like to think he'll find a way to qualify, but you wouldn't want to be taking short prices about him qualifying.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 3 is trap 2, Ballymac Merlin. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, I think Dylan's going to accuse me of copying him, but I thought it was a match race between the two Ballymac dogs as well. Ballymac Merlin, I went with him last week. He just never really got into the race just because he didn't come out of the box and he couldn't get across, even though he was probably in a much weaker heat last week. Look, Ballymac Merlin's never actually got... He's a dog. He's never actually got a clean run. Like, we've never actually seen him in a race get untouched. You know, there's always been crowding or trouble, so he's exceptionally fast. The Ballymac Belvoot dog, he was 2nd in the Juvenile Classic. He ran unbelievable last week behind, I think it was Deadly Destroyer. Look, I just think Ballymac Merlin, there's a huge run in this dog. He did 130 out of the box last week. Ballymac Belvoot did 131. So there's probably nothing between them to the bend. Those Days Are Gone. He's very similar to Bombardier in the way that he traps and then he's no early pace, and then he flies home from the halfway home. He comes on. He could qualify in this heat if it goes well for him. The deadly dog in 5. He actually has the best early pace in this race by a mile, but he wants defense. Like he just doesn't even attempt to go straight. He just wants to come across. If he took a flyer, he could get across, and there could be trouble in behind, probably at a big price. But look, I'll go with Ballymac Merlin. I'm not trying to copy Dylan, but I went on last week. So I just think if he can get a clean run, he'll show what he's made of. Just his qualifying trials, I think that'll come back to him. He won the first round, Tralee. The class is there if he just gets a run. He was in 4 last week. I took a chance on him that he might get across. He didn't, but I just think with 1 on his inside and 3 in his outside, he has a chance of actually, turning the front. And if Ballymac Belleville leads him, he's going to beat him anyway. But I think he's a chance of just sneaking up his inside, and it'll probably be a match race then between the 2 Ballymacs. Look, I'll go for Ballymac Merlin anyway.
The Bombers' selection in Heat 3 is Trap 2, Ballymac Merlin. Heat 4, we've got Explosive Boy in 1, Bling Bling Paul in 2, The Machine in 3, Ballymac Cash Out in 4, Deadly Destroyer in 5, and in 6, Nitro Anto. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I suppose it's very hard not to be with the Explosive Boy here, isn't it? He's been gifted a draw on the fence again. Any sort of level start will be enough, in my opinion. And coming out level or better is his forte, isn't it? He's rocketed the box his last few starts. He missed it once in Thurles in a sprint, but I thought he'll just win this. I think he's 4 to 7. He represents a 4 to 7 shot, in my opinion. Obviously, Ballymac Cash Out was huge runs in him. He was all over the place last week. I thought he lost that race and he should have won it. But again, this is pup racing we're talking about. So, it's bound to happen. He's a bit more experienced than a few of them, though. I was a tad disappointed. I really thought he should have won that race last week from where he was. I thought he was given a chance to take the fence a few times and he just kept choosing the wrong path. I tell you one thing, he wouldn't want to do that in this race with the machine likely to become behind him because he could find himself being knocked out of the competition. If he finds himself behind the Explosive Boy and Deadly Destroyer, which is quite likely in my opinion, if he starts choosing the wrong side of the challenge and takes a bump here or there, the machine will just eat him alive coming up the run-in. He's probably the fastest finisher in the Kirby, the machine dog. I don't think the machine's going to be troubling the judge at most stages in competitions in his career. But I think he's the kind of dog that could make a handful of classic finals. I mean, you just have to look back to the Kirby, 6 years ago, Cable Bay dog and Brendan Matches. You could argue that they're nearly the same dog. Like this dog finishes at such speed, he's going to be near on impossible to keep out of the frame with any sort of clear run. You only need to get them out of the box once, and that's in the finals of these classics, and he's in the right hands to do that. I wouldn't be at all surprised now in 3 or 4 weeks' time if the machine lands into the final with Kirby. If he got his draw and won, he'd be a big player. I don't think he'll win too many heats along the way, but I fancy 1 to win. 3 should qualify. It's probably between 4 and 5 for 2nd or 3rd place. Then whatever leads out of 4 or 5 will probably qualify. I think there's a chance to get one of the big anti-post dogs out of this competition, and Ballymac Cash Out here, if he doesn't hit the boxes like he can. But any sort of a start should see Explosive Boy to the front, and that should be enough. It's not a big price that he goes even faster than last week with the weather forecast. It's been warm all week over here. There's not a drop of rain on the radar in Limerick. This dog will give the clock a rattle if he bombed out of the box again. It wouldn't be a big price now that he could dip under the 28-second barrier.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 4 is Trap 1, Explosive Boy. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, this is the best race tonight anyway, in terms of overall class. Look, Explosive Boy, it's hard to oppose him. If he repeats even 10 or 15 spots behind his third bend clock last week, he's going to be a mile in front of the third bend. When you look at the clocks and you're looking at the third bend clock, some of the dogs I've seen over the years doing Limerick, it was just ridiculous. Like, now, can he go and repeat that or go? I don't think he can go quicker than it. Do you know, that kind of way? I just don't think. But it doesn't really matter. If you can do 15.97, 16 dead, you're going to be probably a mile in front of the third bend. The machine showed massive pace last week. He got absolutely killed. But I think it's his own fault. I just don't think he's going to find himself a lot of trouble the way he comes out of the box. Like, he's Toaster Story or Antigua Fire's half brother. He just has 6 bend dog written all over him. Do you know, kind of way? He gets a solo 5-5 trial. He did 28.16. You can see his pace. Look, Ballymac Cash Out. he disappointed me last week as well, to be fair. I agree with Dylan there. 3 moved off, or 2 and 3 moved off. Like Ballymac Cashew literally had half of the straight to go clear. He got an absolute solo on the fence and he just kind of ran off and got trouble. And he's one of the most experienced dogs in the competition. He ran in Gold Cups, he ran in 600s and everything. So with the top grade in Shelbourne compared to pups with few races, when he puts it all together, he's very fast, but he's hard to depend on. But look, you could say that, and he could pop out behind, and he could. It wouldn't surprise you if he went by Explosive Boy or something. That's just the type of dog he is. He's hard to follow, and he's hard to oppose, that kind of way. I thought Deadly Tornado was one of the best performances of the night on Saturday night. He came into Shelbourne Park. I don't know if he was around the track in a private trial or not, but he ran the track unbelievable for a dog that potentially only had one look or no looks around the track. He just came out and he put on a masterclass performance, and that was probably his experience coming into this competition. But he has a tough draw. Look, him and Cashew could just trouble each other. It's hard to know. I just think Explosive Boy is going to do his thing. He'll be out in front, away and gone, and just catch me if he can. So look, I'll go for Explosive Boy, but I think it's a really fast heat. You're going to probably see one of the big names go out between Dem Machine, Ballymac Cashew, and Deadly Destroyer. One of them has to go out probably. So Explosive Boy, but it's definitely one for watching. I wouldn't go in and back him a 4-7.
So Bomber's selection for Heat 4 is Trap 1, Explosive Boy. Heat 5, we've got Scarter Yank in 1, Broke with Hope in 2, Droop is Fittest in 3, Malog's Marley in 4, Romeo Magico in 5, and in 6, Hello Mikey. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I suppose I came down with Romeo Magico here, but I wouldn't have a free bet in this race, to be honest. It's a bit of a mess. It's a few very sort of in and out dogs and a few inexperienced dogs in the wrong boxes. It's just, I found it very hard to weigh up, to be honest. I've put Romeo Magico and Hello Mikey in joint favourites. I'd want to be against Droopy's Fittest on his draw. I suppose he's head and bang left. He's a tight enough railer. Scardy Yank and broke with Hope both showed plenty of pace to the corner last week, and they're both more middle to rails runners per se. So, especially Scardy Yank, I think he'll come right off the fence early. Mallox Marlin 4. He was okay last week again. He's a dog I struggled to get a hold on. He did the 28-38 in Clonmel, but he's not really repeated that sort of run since. He's put in plenty of good 28-50s, 28-60s, and A1s and AOs, but he's yet to come on. He did 28-38 when he was a very young dog. Like, say Graham Holland was sitting there thinking this could be one of my Derby dogs for next year. He's not shown that sort of caliber since. He's put in a few decent runs without pulling up trees anywhere. I thought he'd head leftish from 4. Obviously, the Magic Out dog, I backed him anti-post at very fancy prices. He's about a 10th or a 12th to the price now. But this is going to be a tough learning curve from through the Kirby. He's an August 19 pup. You could just see last week. I mean, he was still good for another few lengths off his 28-40. He was just leaving time everywhere. The pace and the engine the dog has is undisputed. I think he could match virtually anything in the competition. But he is still just a novice dog. Like, he seemed to bomb the box last week, and then he just stopped for a stride. He definitely showed in front, but after one stride, every other dog in Nyon passed him out. It's like he had to just put himself right being in the inside box for the first time, and he won't get away with that here. If he does that, if he comes out and stops or takes a sort of half stride, either way, he's liable to just be put out of the competition at the first corner, and there's no room for error. I think Trap 5 will suit him. I think he's a middle runner more than inside runner. Hello Mikey is a middle seed in 6, but he is a wide seed. He's edging off from 6 when he gets the chance. He's running on the grass. But it's a steep learning curve for Romeo Magico. But if he comes through this now, I think Graham Holling can start thinking he really has a Kirby contender on his hands. This is while it doesn't look the strongest race on paper, this is a very, very tough assignment for a dog with 3 races with an unfamiliar draw to work from. But if he was to start level, I think he'll just show him from out the second bend, and his back straight pace is as good as I saw last week in Limerick.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 5 is Trap 5, Romeo Magico. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, I think this is an open enough heat as well, to be fair. I think Romeo Magic was a horror draw on 5, to be honest with you. Look, I think he'll do well to qualify from this heat. This heat is not just, as Dylan said, he came out of the box last week and he sort of either checked up a stride or it's hard to work out, to be honest with you. He showed massive pace when he got going and he went on about his business. He's one of my anti-post picks, but I just think out of 5, I just don't think he can repeat that again. He's an obviously pup. He probably is going to need plenty of races to put himself together. I thought Hello Mikey ran great last week. There was murder the first bend and him and the machine went head to head in the heat. I thought they were lucky that the dog in front of them was, I think he was an A2 dog. So look, they were lucky that what was left in front of them, they both ran well. But look, he held off the machines at line, so it was quite impressive performance. He's sort of similar to Clone of both in the way that he doesn't really want, like he needs a run to the corner and he's probably not suited. Last week he actually went to the bend well, but a wall of dogs just came in front of him and he nearly got flipped over and he was lucky to stay on his feet and to go on and win the heat was quite impressive. I think the Troopy's fittest dog was mighty impressive. I don't think he can run him down at all. He just came out of the box. He was in 4 last week and he still got to the front and him and Viper back straight. So I think he's well drawn 3. Like you can't oppose him really. Scardy Yank is a very fast dog. I think he's probably an underrated dog. He actually ran well last week. He actually probably has the best, like Troopy's fittest did a 131 last week. Scardy Yank can do in the 120s and he's 28.50 dog. So if he could get to front and repeat his run, you know, he's going to be very hard to beat in the heat as well. I'm probably sitting the fence here, but look, I'll go for Droopy's fittest. I think he was quite impressive last week. He bet Viper's Buzz, a dog I know who's very quick. He would have first looked at the track last week, but they really showed they were just so far ahead of the rest of the dogs in the heat. I know Robert Cleese in his interview last week on Talking Dogs TV, he thinks a lot of this dog. He said he did 1740 in Uber race, so I think that tells you how good the dog he is. I just think Romeo Magico, it's going to be hard for him to get a run. As Dylan said, even the 4 dog, he's 28.30 in Clonmel on his card. Now, he's not repeating the level of performance that he has. But look, it's one for watching as well. I wouldn't be going mad in going back in dogs in this heat. I'll go for Droopy's fittest. I just think Hello Mikey, like if Romeo Magico goes to bend at all, it's going to be hard for Hello Mikey to get a run and vice versa. And look, I'll go with Droopy's fittest. I just think if it's between him, if he can lead Scarty Yank on the inside, I think he's going to be very hard to beat. If I was backing Scarty Yank's probably going to be a massive price. You could back him probably at 8-1, 7 or 8-1. But look, I'll go for Droopy's fittest anyway for this one.
So Bomber's selection for Heat 5 is Trap 3, Droopy's fittest. Heat 6, we've got Fabulous Azura in 1, Bocco's Belly in 2, Vigorous Buck in 3, Valegro in 4, Ballymac Ariel in 5, and in 6, Viper's Buzz. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I suppose I'll stick with Ballymac Ariel on this. I wasn't too impressed with her last week now, at any point in the race. Obviously, she felt the boxes, but I didn't think she went to the bend well at all either, compared to what she was shown in Shelbourne. In Shelbourne, Billy Steve always just out-trap her, but Ballymac Ariel a much better pick up into the corner. She didn't show that last week now. She sort of grovelled up to the bend now. Obviously, first start for a while, they were going to keep her fresh for a 5-month stake. She probably wasn't primed to be at her best last week, but from 5, I think 5 will suit her. I didn't find the Kirby heats this week that much of a good betting proposition now. I thought there's a lot of messy draws, a lot of dogs that were hard to weigh up from last week, but Valegro in 4 is heading left, Vigorous Book in 3 is heading bang left. Viper's Buzz in 6 was mightily impressive last week. He'd never been round the place. You could tell because he lost a length and a half down the back straight. And from all his form in Shelbourne, that's where he does his run. There shouldn't be a dog taking a half a length out of him in the competition down the back, let alone a length and a half. So, I know he's done 28.40 and he's been beat 3/4 of a length, but I'd well believe if he had a look around before last week, he'd have won that race. He'd have won it a half a length, 3/4 of a length even. I thought he got lost at a few stages. So, that was a remarkable run, really, to do that sort of run on the night at that stage of the night when the track probably wasn't near its best. The thing is, he trapped well last week, and that's not something you could attribute to him on a regular basis. I watched plenty of him in Shelbourne. Now he wouldn't be the sharpest trapper. His pickup is decent enough, but I thought Ballymacary was liable to show in front of him this week. 3 and 4 head and left. Bucko's belly last week was all over the track. I'd say he hadn't been around since he landed Graham Holland's place, because he swerved at the start. He missed all the bends. He ran desperate, to be honest. Like, he was not the dog we saw in England at Central Park or at Mummore. He looked like an A3 dog last week. He was just all over the track. He must have left his sat nav on the boat over. It's hard to make a case from him here after seeing that. The fabulous Zero Dog in One Doesn't Want One. She won from 1 last week, but again, she had Bucko's belly in 3 last week, and they both moved off. She's Bucko's belly in 2 this week. She's going to have even more of a solo. I made it between the 2 bitches, and I think Viper's Buzz will qualify out wide if he gets any sort of run. I thought it was a bit concerning how Ballymacary ran after her first bench trouble last week. She looked a bit laboured. There wasn't really a burst of pace anyway, but she took an almighty bump on the corner now. She was full head of steam, ran right into 2 dogs. They nearly split her in half. If they turn up with her this week, obviously they've had her checked out. She's sound. They're happy with her. I'd be happy to part with some money at 6-4, 7-4 if that's available. 6-4 is available at the minute. But again, if you were asking me to take short prices about Ballymacary, I wouldn't touch her. After last week, she got a lot of trouble. So I'll put her forward as the most likely winner. But I don't think I'd be part out, to be honest.
So Fitz's selection for Heat 6 is Trap 5, Ballymacary. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting heat to say the least. Ballymacary, you just know she's the fastest dog in the race, and she's probably the fastest greyhound in training. She's just not coming out of the box. In the Easter Cup, I noticed that her splits were terrible, 358s and that, and she came to Limerick last week, she did 142 out of the box. You'd associate that with really bad breakers, really bad trappers. So I just don't think you can afford to be doing that kind of trapping in Limerick. But if she does half come out, you just know the pace this bitch has. 28 seconds won't stop this bitch. She'll smash through that if she gets a run. I thought Viper's Buzz ran great last week. Kieran Hicks said last week he's a local to me anyway, and he just had some crack going down with this dog last week to Limerick and run so well. He was never around the track. I think he's holding on to me a few offers during the week. He's not going to sell the dog, I don't think, so fair play to him. He wants to enjoy this. He's always looking for a good dog, so I think he's a good chance to qualify from this heat as well if he comes out. Now, he did come out of the box last week, 128 split. I was surprised he did that. Like as Dylan said, it's probably as good as the break we've seen. Now, he might have just been freshened up a bit from going from Shelbourne to Limerick, If he can repeat that trap, and he's always going to get himself involved in races, but I'm not sure. We've yet to see it, but I think he's a good draw on 6 to qualify. I thought the fabulous bitch she just did everything right last week. She just got out in front. It was in a 4-dog heat, but she did a 28-40 here. She's a fast bitch. She ran great in the unrace stake in Clonmel. I actually thought Bucko's belly ran well last week for a dog that's only been over for 10 days. I know Dylan's run them down because he's an English dog, and he said he was an A3 dog, but he probably thinks all English dogs are A3 dogs. So I actually thought he ran well last week. If he takes a big leap forward, he could get himself involved. But it's a big ask as well. Vallegro, he showed massive pace in the back straight last week against One Time Only. I can see why he can do fast solos, like he did 28-60 in a slowish session 3 weeks or 4 weeks for the Kirby. And you can see why he did that. He is a really fast dog. It's a big ask from those as well. They're in it, this is a tough race. He's not really usually a consistent trapper. He kind of hits her, or he bombs the boxes for him, or he doesn't come out at all. And you just don't know where he's going to go. But look, he's Ballymacary and that around him. So I'm going to go with the fabulous bitch in 1. I just think if she can get out in front, she'll do 28-40, and she'll do it from the front. And if Ballymacary gets any trouble at all, if she has Viper's Buzz alongside her as well, they could start going head to head in the back straight and get each other's way. And if she repeats a 142 sectional, I couldn't see her come the bitch in 1. So look, I'll go with Fabulous as her anyway. Just on the draw, I think she'll lead up and do her business on the inside. But look, if Ballymacary or Viper's Buzz gets away behind her, they're going to show some pace in the race and probably pick her up. But look, I'll go for 1 draw. But we'll all be watching Ballymac Aerial and Vipers Buzz in this heat.
So Bomber's selection for Heat 6 is Trap 1, Fabulous Azura. Heat 7, we've got Zafiro in 1, Envoy in 2, Glengar Masher in 3, Flyers Iniesta in 4, Wakiki Bomber in 5, and in 6, Malok Stormzy. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I made this the best battle around. Zafiro on Trap 1. This is a dropping red like he's never seen before in his life since he's come out of the Race Classic. And that's not to disrespect any of the dogs he's in right now, but you just have to look at his card. He's been beat by Ballymac Merlin, Zoom twice, Sing Along Sally, and then he got beat last week his first go in Limerick. But I thought he showed an almighty amount of pace from a bad draw. He's been crying out for Trap 1. He's a Ballymac Razzle dog, so as we keep on saying, she just throws champion after champion. She throws very strong, good type of dogs now. I thought he's been given a heat that doesn't have a huge amount of early pace in it. On the fence, I thought any semblance of a level start here, he'll lead up on the rails. And if this dog gets a side of back straight in Limerick with a clean run, he could put anything in this competition in trouble. Like, I was on the phone to someone this morning, and we're talking about the possibility of the clock on, and he was saying he'd love to know if anyone on the price of what heat would be the fastest, would be one in the fastest time on Saturday night. Now, Barrett's at late heat. I'd be very happy to keep Zafiro on side as likely to be one of the fastest winners on Saturday night if he did things right at Trap Rise. This dog's engine is undoubted. Came from a mile behind Zone in Tralee, and he just left him for dead then up the run. And I think that was a 4 slow, the 28.51. If he reproduced that sort of run in Limerick on Saturday night, that'd be a 28.10 run. No doubt about it. The way Tralee was running during that classic was very, very deep track now. The Envoy dog in 2 is liable to move off. He's been running bang off the corners from plenty further out than Trap 2. Moving into Trap 2, it's only going to exaggerate the fact that he runs off the corners. The Glengar bitch in 3 showed plenty last week, but I just thought this is another big step up in grade for her. She showed plenty of pace down the back. Her trials didn't really inspire me. You're talking about an A1, A2 bitch in with a dog like Zafiro. I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to take her on every day of the week. The Flyers and yes, the dog of Jerry Howley is probably a lot better drawn in this heat. He was beat 7.5 lengths by Romeo Magico last week, but that heat fell apart. I think 2 dogs went wrong in the heat. The dog of Pat Buckley's and the outsider in the race. He was effectively 3rd or 4 thereafter. It was a bit disappointing, to be honest. He had 28.90. He didn't suggest to me he's going to go that much faster at any stage. He's slightly better drawn by what way he's boxed. He's moved from 2 to 4, which suits him. I think he wants 4 or 5. But Waikiki Bomber in 5 is a tight enough railer, fast starter. He was the reason I was with Racket Hall Leo last week. So because he was in 5 moving across, he's liable to do the same here. Take 3 and 4's ground early. I'm hoping for a level start from Zafiro, and he won't be able to get across him. Malak Stormy in 6 ran well. He picked up John Rensford's dog, the Adamant dog, last week from a long way back. But if you weren't taking the Adamant dog up from 2.5, 3 lines behind him at the 3rd bend, you wouldn't win around at Kirby the way he comes home. The Malak's dog is a plot draw here, but he did 28.70 last week, the 28.70 odd the week before. I just thought if Zafiro gets a cut at these now, he could have 5 or 6, if not more, lengths up his sleeve. If he was to hit the front at any stage for the first 300 yards, he's a strong runner. If he leads, he won't be picked up. If he leads this race, it's died a distance time. He could win by 8 or 9 lengths. I think Saturday night's the night now that we see Zafiro really break onto the Kirby scene. I'm not 100% sure what price he is anti-post, but it could look very big now after 20 strides on Saturday night.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 7 is Trap 1, Zafiro. Bomber, what do you fancy?
I think I'm going to be accused of copying Dylan again by him. I thought Zafiro was the nap of the night, to be honest with you. I just thought this dog he's everything in his favour. He's in his box. He is an absolute non-starter and 2 beside him. Last week, he actually surprised me. He actually came out of the box well last week, and then Burgess Dalo clipped his back legs, I thought, just come on the way to the bend, and he kind of just took a false step and he got left in behind and he rail tight the first bend. He didn't really show massive pace in the back straight, but when he got going off the last bend, he just ran by dogs. Like, he just went into another gear. Look, he's a 5'7", 600-yard dog, but I just think that the way this draw is made up, he's sitting in 1, 2's a non-starter that moves off. The 3 bitch went into the stake as an A4 dog. Now, she ran great last week. I think she's A1 now. But look, she's gone up a mile in grade as well. The Wakiki Boglass showed massive early pace last week. Like, he got across from 5 in that Racket Hall Leo heat. I think he did 16:25 to the third bend or something like that. You know, it was one of the best third bend clocks the night. Now, the Hall Dog picked him up. Like, he did tie up badly coming off the last bend. Like, he's a type of dog. Safiro, if Safiro's even winning in 3 or 4 lengths of him, you know, he's going to pick him up and stopped. Look, I think it's Safiro's heat to lose. He's in 1. The heat up, to make up of the heat is great for him. As Dylan says, you could just see the best Safiro now on Saturday night, provided he traps. Look, with Kiki Bomber, you could back him at a big price that he's going to lead and you could hope for trouble in behind. But if you're trying to pick a winner, I just think Safiro is nap material. Look, he's a Ballymac Ros dog. As we said, Shit's brother, she only breeds champion dogs. Some people were saying to me, you were disappointed him last week. I just think the way the race fell from, it wouldn't even surprise me if he was never around Limerick. You know, that kind of way. Like, they really think a lot of this dog. They might have just taken a chance he'd qualify with the 3 or 4 to qualify. So look, I think there's a lot to improve for this dog. I think you'll see the best of him as well. I don't think he's a dog that he's going to be hard to knock out, but if he's in better races, he won't get to the front. And you know, he's a pure strong runner. He looks even. You could put him over 6 bends in the future. That kind of way. He looks made for Shelbourne Park. He's not running Shelbourne Park Saturday night. He's in Limerick, but look, I'll make Safiro nap material, and I'm sure if he wins, Dylan will accuse me of copying him. But yeah, definitely with Safiro for this heat.
So Bomber's selection for heat 7 is trap 1, Safiro. Heat 8, we have got Sing Along Sally in 1, Rural Star in 2, Jack's Little Thing in 3, I've Everything in 4, All About Ted in 5, and in 6, Stone Park Leo. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I suppose it's hard to get away from Sing Along Sally and trap 1 here, just on the draw alone, regardless of how good a bitch she is. Rural Star in 2 moved off badly last week. Moved off on the run-up and then he moved right off again on the corner. He's not the best trapper, but he's still liable to take out his cannon made at Lidroy's there, the Jack's Little Thing dog. It was very impressive last week in the last heat. He trapped, he just got done a little bit, the Jack's dog. Then there was a bit of trouble in behind. He didn't need a second invitation. He won by 8 lengths. The I've Everything dog in 4 is just massively outclassed here, to be honest. He actually ran well last week in behind after trouble. Again, he's landing another hot heat. It was a bit of an optimistic entry, I'd say. The All About Ted dog in 5 is better drawn this week in 5 than he was in 6 last week. He won arguably the hottest heat last week with Ballymac Cash Out, Epic News and Agent standing, and he won it quite well. But he did look a dog that was short of a lot of racing. Now, while he won probably a better heat last week than he's in this week, that lack of racing might just catch him out here because there's a bit more tilt to the corner in here, a bit more consistent pace as well to the corner. He's in with a few hit and miss trappers last week and he got out in front. Might not be afforded that luxury here. The Stone Park Leo dog in 6, his run down the back straight was probably unrivaled last week on the clocks. I mean, we mentioned last week before that Mark O'Donovan wasn't putting him in the stake as an 8-3 dog if he didn't think he could do a big run. The only worry for me is I couldn't tell now. I had a few people ask me as well after the race, did he get hurt at the third bend or did he hit the fence? It's hard to know. Something happened at the third bend. I actually thought something might happen to Sing Along Sally up front, halfway down the back straight, because this dog was taking lengths out of her. I mean, he must have taken 2.5 or 3 lengths out of Sing Along Sally. I immediately looked then to see if she'd got hurt at some point. But I think this dog just his back straight pace is probably just sensational now. The Stone Park Leo dog. They've put a middle seat on him. He got no sort of run last week. The boxes Sing Along Sally cut across him. He was beat 8.5 from a bad draw last week. something happened to him at the third bend that cost him plenty of ground. If he was to start sharply here, he might put up the Sing Along Sally to the third bend, and then you'd imagine she'll rail away from him. I mean, she's such a tight railer. Her career's been faultless thus far. She's cheated bad draws. When she's been given good draws, she's won easily. She's been gifted a good draw here. The likelihood is she'll win easily again. But 6 is the really interesting dog in this. I mean, he's only A2. He's the lowest graded dog in this race. But I wouldn't mind some big prices that he comes second there. I think a few of his rivals are quite tricky draws. If he was to produce his best start, which I don't think he has thus far in his career, he might just find himself in a position on the corner to launch down the back at the jolly. And then it's probably race on to the third bend. I still don't think he beat Sing Along Sally, but he can again show why he was entered into this competition as an A3 dog with a sort of unknown profile.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 8 is Trap 1, Sing Along Sally. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, I'm really looking forward to this heat actually, because there's 2 big unraced stakes in the country every year, and it's Tralee and Clonmel. And now you have the winner of Tralee going against the winner of Clonmel in Sing Along Sally and Jack's Little Thing. So look, all the dogs entered in them stakes. They were the 2 winners. They were impressive in the stake. They weren't just, outsiders that won the final. I think Sing Along Sally is obviously the best draw in one. Like, how could she not be? The Jack's dog absolutely came through the bars last week, but he just got the corner and was a bit of trouble, and he did run well. He did ride the bend well after getting a bit of trouble. He does tend to move off in the bends. I have noticed that. So I could see Sing Along Sally just getting a dream run. Even if he trapped out ahead of her, she could just get a dream run on the inside just by railing the first bend. Me and Dylan were mad about 6 last week, saying, like, why was he? Well, not why. We knew why he was in the stake, because he was a fast dog. I've never seen Michael Donovan enter a dog that was an A3 dog into a stake like this unless he thought he was missing out. If the dog could do a run in an A3 in Shelbourne, he'd say, we're after missing the Kirby for an A3 stake. He took lengths out of Sing Along Side in the back straight last week. Like Dylan said, if you're anyone doing clocks in the back straight, he had to be one of the quickest. My question would also be, did he get injured at the third bend, or did he hit the rails? A lot of people were... I personally thought he got picked up an injury at the third bend last week. From watching it, I just thought, he stopped too quick. A lot of people thought he hit the third bend. Look, if he's running, he's not injured. You just know that, But Michael doesn't want to run him injured. But at the same time, it's just, you just have a bit of a question mark about him. Is he 100%? All about Ted. Dylan said he was in the best heat last week. He just went about his business. He got in front, and he just won the race. Now look, Ballymac Cash I thought took lengths out of him, to be fair. But at the same time, all about Ted. He's been off the track since December. It was his first 5-5 on official 5-5 on his card. His first race. He could come on 20 or 30 spots this week. Do you know, kind of way? He probably badly needed to run. Look, I'm going to go with Sing Along Sally just in the draw, but you're seeing now the Clonmel Unrace Stake winner taking on the Juvenile Classic winner, so it's the race everyone wants to see. And 5 and 6 aren't any pushovers as well. They're massively fast dogs. I'll go Sing Along Sally on the draw, but it's definitely one to watch anyway.
Bomber's selection for Heat 8 is Trap 1, Sing Along Sally. We now move on to the Shelbourne Open 600 Round 1 Heat 1. We've got Medusa in 1, Iconic Rory in 2, Perno in 3, Razzle Dazzle Peaky in 4, Amazing Champ in 5, and in 6, Almighty Paddy. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I suppose it's quite a tentative selection, but I thought Amazing Champ can win this. It's one of the weaker heats. I thought the first and second heat weren't the strongest in this competition. The third and fourth heat are red hot, to say the least. But in this heat itself, the Medusa bitch in 1 stepping up and trip. She had a horrible draw last week in the Kirby. She ran quite poor, but you can excuse that. She was running well down there for a pre-Kirby race. She has 1 or 2 good runs as well. Other tracks, I thought this is a step up in grade now. The Iconic Rory dog in 2. He doesn't really suggest to me he'll stay 600 yards, and all evidence I've seen, he's in the right hands though. Pat Norris is an extremely shrewd man with a dog, as we've seen the last 3 or 4 years when he's come up to Shelbourne with dogs. His trial last week was okay, without being massively inspiring. The Broadstrand Ryan dog at Jonathan Hans went 20 spots quicker, but there's no shame that he's a very fast dog. Iconic Rory would be the most professional dog. Now he's a bit hit and miss the boxes. I'm not certain he'll stay the 600 yards. He's probably not the best drawn here either. The piano dog in 3 is liable to go straight and cut the bend. He didn't see it last week, the 5-7, which suggests 600 yards at Shelbourne will be too far from. But the Magical Jasper dog that picked him up, Pat Guilfoyle's kept that dog down to Thurles the last few months, and he's just beating everything down there. Like he knows Thurles like the back of his hand. It's not the easiest track to run. It's not the easiest track to be consistent at either, the way the hair is now. But he's also the Magical Jasper dog. His chase and pace is ridiculous. Like I've seen him pick up dogs he should have absolutely no ability to get after. So there's no disgrace in Piano being picked up by him, but it doesn't suggest to me that 600 yards is an ideal trip for him. And there's where the inside 3 went into an issue, because Razzle Dazzle Peaky in 4, albeit I think he's ran quite poorly recently. He hit the front against Monbeg Zinzan 3 weeks ago, and then he got done near the line. He didn't go to the escape great either. He's just not looked the same dog since he's come back this side of the year from last year. His one go from the back boxes, he did 30-70, which is as good as any of these that do. He actually beat Amazing Champ that night quite comfortably, but I thought Amazing Champ can reverse the form here for a good draw. Peaky will headbang left from 4. The almighty Paddy dog in 6 is very slow up to the corner. He's a strong runner now, but he shouldn't trouble Amazing Champ. Amazing Champ was rejuvenated when he got reseeded from the inside. I thought a level start here, and he can lead up into the corner on the outside, and something's liable with the inside 3. Probably Iconic Rory to turn on his inside, but I think Amazing Champ will do whatever's on his inside down the back straight, and he's the strongest. He's probably the strongest of these that can get to the front early as well. He'll see up to 600 yards perfectly fine. If he hits the front at any stage, I expect him to win.
So Fitz's fancy for Heats 1 is trap 5, Amazing Champ. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, I don't think this is the strongest heat in the 600, as Dylan said. It's a strong race, no doubt, but when you look at the later heats, they're just ridiculous. I actually like Iconic Rory in this race. I think he's a great draw. I'm actually delighted to see him over 600 yards because this dog is unbelievably quick. He's been running 5-5 and the last few months and that, and he just didn't always get a run. But the night he got trap 1, he led. He did 28-15. He came home in 12:07, off of 6:08. So that's as good as you can do really from the third bend home in Shelbourne. Not too many break 12 seconds. So I don't think the 600-yard trip is going to be too much of a concern. I think people underestimate how much lead in a 600-yard race is, how important it is, because you get into these races and if you get to the front, most dogs that run over this trip stay, and you're trying to pass other dogs to stay the trip as well. So Amazing Champ, he's an exceptionally fast dog. He was winning 5-7-5s last year at the end of the year. He won the big unrace stake at Shelbourne Park last year. My concern about him is he's only come back from injury, this dog. He ran in the Easter Cup the first round. He was mighty impressive behind New in Session, but he hasn't had a marker trial since then. He's only getting in the stake within 6 weeks. Now, look, I'm sure he's had a private trial with that, but obviously he picked up something in the Easter Cup. There's no question about it. The Kennedys in Matron. I don't know how serious it was, but look, Iconic Rory, it was a slow track last week, 28.80. I know the Broadstrand Pup went 20 spots quicker, but you just wouldn't know on them tracks, different ground. It was wet enough. I just think if Iconic Rory can get to the front, he's going to do a fast clock to the third bend, and look, he'll get close to 600 yards. He doesn't exactly have to run through the line to get it, but I just think if he leads Amazing Champ, he'll take a lot of beating. Razzle Peaky, he's just such a consistent dog in Shelbourne Park. He did 30-70 last year. I remember the night he did it, it was off the charts. I think it was the first round of Derby. He nearly caught Pistana, and he clocked 29.20 for the 5.50 himself in Shelbourne. He's probably not running to form as he was last year, but look, you can never run him out. He's just that type of dog. Look, I'll go for Iconic Rory. I just think he's a serious chance of leading this race, and if he leads Amazing Champ might just need a run as well. I just think he's had more race than Iconic Rory in the last few months. So, yeah, look, I'll go for Iconic Rory. I'll take Dylan on this heat anyway.
So Bomber's selection in Heat 1 is trap 2, Iconic Rory. Heat 2, we've got Priceless Jet in 1, Monbeg Zinzan in 2, Own Spice in 3, Cabradorn in 4, Athlata Zete in 5, and in 6, Clash Denzo. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I'll just side with Priceless Jet here. He's not ideally drawn. No, he's not well drawn at all, which I try and steer clear from, to be honest, for the most part. But I didn't give much of a chance to 4, 5, or 6 in this heat. I don't think 5 wants 600 yards at all now. I remember him from the Derby and he was sort of out on his feet after 450. I think he led one of the nights against In the Satchel when one of my dogs in the race and he just folded out the second bend or out the third bend. You know, I know he got hurt and he's come back and he's shaped a bit more like the stair, but didn't suggest to me he wants 600 now at all. He's probably a short price to lead up the outside, which can see the 4 and 6 dog left behind to the run to the corner. Own Spice in 3 is a real tough, genuine kind of dog for John Brown. He's won plenty of races he had no right to win. He just wins them at the corner. He just throws himself around corners. He suits the 600 yards in Shelbourne. He's claimed a few big scalps as well. It's a big ask for him to clear the inside 2 here, though. My worry for Priceless Jet in 1 is he will edge off the corner from 1. I think he'll be rails-ish on the run-up. But Monbeg Zinzan in 2 charges the boxes every night without fail. And Priceless Jet doesn't need a second invitation to miss the break. He'd started trapping a bit better since the turn of the year. I thought if he trapped here, he could win as he likes. He has a massive engine. The inside seat does suit him a lot better than the middle seat. Monbeg Zinzan doesn't go to the corner at all. I thought he should have made the corner last week. And he just couldn't clear no green die, which doesn't suggest to me he'll have any chance of clearing Priceless Jet here off any sort of a start. So, you know, I thought a level enough break here. I'll see Priceless Jet to the front at an early stage of the race. You know, he will put up big figures for the 600-yard trip. He has that sort of engine to do so.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 2 is Trap 1, Priceless Jet. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, I fancy Priceless Jet as well.
Copying Dylan
he's the
again.
fastest dog in this race by a mile. Well, that's what he's going to say. I'll have to go first next week then, and we'll see who's copying who then. But look, I just think Priceless Jet, he's the fastest dog in the race. You know, he's massive on straights. He's not the best bend runner, but when he gets on straights, he just absolutely burns it up. And the 600-yard in Shelbourne Park, it's the 2 longest straights in the country. So he's just an airplane. He did 28.34 in trial last week. Ballymac Kingdom did 28.28. We all know what we think of him. The Own Spice dog, I'd say he's a dog you'd love to own. He's just the most genuine dog you could possibly see. He just really battles and he really wants to win races, as Dylan said. He's probably won a few races that he probably wasn't quick enough to win, you know, that kind of way. He ran the 600-yard stake in Shelbourne last year. He made the final. He bet the likes of Ballymac Taz and all them sorts. So, look, he's a very fast dog. I think he's 3 from 5 over 600-yard race, which tells you how good he is. Like, he's a consistent dog. I just think, look, Priceless Jet is the fastest dog in this race by a mile if he gets a run. The Monbeg Zinzan, I can't really work him out, to be honest with you. I think he won on the Winter Festival. Dylan might correct me on that one, but I think he was left in front in the race. You're not going to way. Look, he's a quick dog. He doesn't really start, and then he kind of comes to run. And some nights he doesn't look like the strongest stayer as well. He's a confusing dog. He's hard to follow. I just think a Priceless Jet sees daylight, he's going to do a massive run. You know, the Own Spice dog goes well to the bend, to be fair to him, but I just think in the back straight, Priceless Jet would just go into a different gear, and whatever's in front, if he's behind or in front, he just burned it up from 2 to 3. Look, I think 4, 5, and 6, they're out of their depth in this kind of race. You know, look, they're grand dogs. The 5 dog, as Dylan said, he didn't look the strongest there last year. I clicked into his card. He's had a few disappointing sprints in Cork and Limerick in his last few marks. He's 1 from 14. Look, they're probably just out of their depths, but 1, 2, and 3, they might not all get a clean run. They're beside each other. You know, one of them could qualify from 4, 5, and 6. But look, I'll go for Priceless Jet anyway. And I'm not just copying Dylan on this one. I just think he's a serious dog.
We'll let you go first next week. Bomber's selection in Heat 2 is Trap 1, Priceless Jet. Heat 3, we have got Exile Storm in 1, Billy's Diva in 2, Ballymac Wild in 3, Rockburst Mike in 4, Ballydoyle Rossa in 5, and in 6, Ogs there. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I made Billy's Diva odds on in this race. I think 600 yards a bit of making of her. Not that she's done anything untoward over 5 to 5 or 550. She's been one of the best dogs in the country. But 3 long straights just plays right into her rally now. Obviously, she's coming up against a Derby and Ledger finalist in Ballymac Wild, and arguably the best / most consistent 575 and 600 yard dog in the last 6 or 7 months in Auxerre. I still think she just has it. She's just running out of her skin. I mean, God only knows what figure she'd have posted for the 5 to 5 in Limerick last week if she hadn't got taken out. She was liable to go and put up a sub 28 second run the way she'd went to the corner last week. She was in front of a big early pacer and Jacob Tashadelic. I was surprised slightly they've come for this competition. I did mention it to someone during the week. I said, do you think there's a chance John Kennedy might reroute the bitch up to Shelbourne for the 600? Now it's a massively valuable stake. The money the GRI put up for this is quite frankly ridiculous for a 3-run stake, €15,000 to the winner. That's why they got these big names out in the 3rd and 4th heats. When you put that sort of money up, the big boys come out to play. It's not to be sniffed at under any circumstances. I thought Billy's Diva will, as usual, show her smart trapping ability. That'll see her to the front early. I don't think there's many dogs in this race that can lay up with her to the 3rd bend. So maybe Auxerre cannot his best start, but Billy's Diva just has the class. I mean, she is right at the top of the tree as one of the best dogs in the country. Over 525, 550, and over 600 after this race. We'll see her as one of the best. I just hope that her and Ballymac Kingdom can thread their way through to a final, and we can get that we can build up that big match race then. That's right. So I'd love to see now Billy's Diva against Ballymac Kingdom over 600 yards, but in this race itself, it's a very strong heat now. The 3 main protagonists you could argue are Billy's Diva, Ballymac Wild, and Auxerre. They wouldn't want to make too many mistakes because the Exile Storm dog is a very consistent dog. He won't leave the fence. He's been winning some okay races recently. He's been running well. Obviously, I've vested interest in Rockburst Mike. I own a leg in him with the 3 lads. I'd love nothing more to see him blow the bars down in this heat, but I don't think he has a good draw. Why the Ballydoyle Rossa bitch is the middle? It is beyond me. She was bang left from 3 in Cork last week. She's going to be bang left from 5 here. She's liable to take our lad out. We'd love to see him snatch 3rd on the line somehow. He did beat the Auxerre dog quite handily down in Limerick. He came from a few lines behind him and just ran blind down the back. But Auxerre is a different prospect in Shelbourne Park. He just goes up another level. He loves the long run to the corner. I think Billy's Diva will beat Ballymac Wild here. Hopefully Arlad can qualify in 3rd. I wouldn't be optimistic now, but it's not nice to have a runner against this sort of class of dog, isn't it? It's just a shame the syndicate can't go out for a night out on Saturday night. It'll be quite enjoyable, but I thought Billy's Diva will put up some huge figures here and put herself into the top bracket of yet another standard trip in the country over 600 yards.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 3 is track 2, Billy's Diva. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, this is as good as a 600-yard race you could probably have in Shelbourne Park. I know Dylan's looking forward to seeing his lad in the stake, and he texted me, did you see the 600? And I looked at the heat, and it was unbelievable. Like Billy's Diva coming out of Limerick. Look, I can't blame the Kennedy stake. She was obviously in great form for the Kirby last week. She was just kind of robbed of qualifying, and she nearly got put over. Nearly flipped over. Look, she's class act. She was the favourite to win the Easter Cup. 600 yards. I don't necessarily know if she wants the massive run to the corner. I think she's good out. I just think she might just get swamped on the run to the bend with the longer run to the corner. I think the 550 run suitor she get out and she could hold her pitch. Ballymac Wild, he's a Ledger finalist. He was favourite to win the Ledger. He's a Derby finalist. He won 4 heats at the Derby. He's just a classy dog. He's just exceptionally fast. He hasn't been running to his level the last few weeks, but I just think he's probably the run to the corner could be the difference for him. Rockburst Mike, the lads own him, 30-90. He's a fast dog. His only weakness is that Dylan Fitzsimons owns him. So, look, he's getting a massive push up in grade as well from what he was running with. I hope it goes well for the lads, but you'll do. If you can qualify from this heat, you'll be jumping up and down Saturday night. Like, it's just that good of a race. Auxerre is definitely the best Saturday night dog in Shelbourne Park. The most consistent dog. There's always a dog that is a top Saturday night dog who wins the races in Auxerre. Between 550, 575 and 600 yards, he just wins. He's just so impressive. Like Beach Avenue had every chance to beat him last week, and he couldn't. You know, the dog was coming home the best in the Easter Cup. He's a Thompson Light. He didn't actually, I think Oliver Shields on him. He wasn't that dear of a dog from, and he's getting some spin out of this dog. He's just doing in the top grade every week. The Bridal bitch, she's a Ballymac Razzle. She's Cash Out's sister. She's a Firo sister. She went into Cork and she did 29.40 for the 550. It was a ridiculous run. Like, it really was. But Dylan said she's getting pushed up in grade as well. I'm going to go with Ballymac Wild in this heat. I just think he has a lot of class. I just think the run to the bend. Billy Steve is now switching back from Limerick to Shelbourne. Look, it's not going to be that. She knows Shelbourne Park well. It's not going to be a big deal. But I just think he could trouble early on with the bigger run to the corner. Auxerre is probably likely to lead. But Auxerre's weakness is definitely just halfway down the back straight. If you can get at him in the back straight, you know, he's a dog. He flies to the bend and then he kicks on again from third bend home. Your window probably to beat Auxerre is down the back straight. If Ballymac Wild or Billy Steve can turn second to him, you know, they'll give him something to think about. Look, I'll go for Ballymac Wild. So I'm not accused of copying Dylan again, but yeah, I could go for Ballymac Wild, but it's some race to watch.
So Bomber's selection in Heat 3 is Trap 3, Ballymac Wild. Heat 4, we have got Great Name That in 1, Hello Hammond in 2, Ballymac Kingdom in 3, Clonfert Lorenzo in 4, Beach Avenue in 5, and in 6, No Stranger. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I'll be honest, this race isn't a betting proposition at all. This is purely a race to enjoy now. You have 4 top 600-yard dogs in this race, and not including them 4, you have a track record holder outside lad as well in Clonfert Lorenzo. He did the 550 clock in Mullingar a few weeks ago, but he was sort of left behind last week. I can't see him getting involved here, to be honest. The 550 in Mullingar isn't really a trip that's used too often. You know, when he's ran over the more standardised trips, he's been a good dog for connections, but he's been sitting in A2 and A3 for a long old time now to suggest that he's going to compete at this sort of level at well over 2.5-year-old. The Great Name That dog, I'd say, I'd like to think something might have just went amiss with him in the Easter Cup final. They said they had an eagle during the week of the final, and he hit the third bend in the final and just stopped. He just pulled himself up. He just couldn't turn the bend. Whether he had a niggle, I don't know. If you had to hazard a guess, it's probably up in his shoulder somewhere, maybe. Just the way he's been running bends. He's always been a dog that stands up on the corners. But he's had a few weeks off. They've certainly got on top of it if they've entered him for a 600-yard competition. And he has a draw of all draws here because, as we saw in the first round of the Easter Cup, when Beach Avenue and Hello Hammond ran against each other, when Hello Hammond's drawn on the inside, he does not make any attempt to turn the corner. He put Beach Avenue into the wall in the first round of the Easter Cup, and for all Beach Avenue ran up the Easter Cup, he's been absolutely flying the last 6 or 7 weeks for connections. I think there's every chance that might happen again. Unfortunately, the 2 Hennessy dogs will take each other out, and in this sort of company, if Hello Hammond takes a dog out, they'll be doing very well to qualify then, because I'm yet to see many dogs that can come from behind Great Name That, Ballymac Kingdom, or No Stranger. You know, they're 3 dogs that could probably give 32 seconds a fair rattle in a solo. Beach Avenue was drawn fairly well now to go up on the outside. 2 dogs either side and wouldn't really go to the bend. So I'm sure his connections and Paul Hennessy himself, the Hennessy team, they're probably hoping he can just front off in front of Hello Hammond, and Hello Hammond can take care of the dogs behind them on the corner. But the key to this race is Ballymac Kingdom and Beach Avenue have to be in front of 2 on the bend, because 2 doesn't make any attempt to turn left. and he really does just run dogs onto the wall. That can leave great. And that would have just, yourself's going to have a draw of his lifetime up on the fence. And when Great Name that gets a cut at things down the back straight, he just goes by them. When he gets the sprint down the back, there's not many that can contain him. I thought he can hit the front of the third bend here, and while there'll be big finishes in behind him, he might just hang on. It's just a race to watch, really. But if I was put for a selection, I think Great Name that just has the draw to capitalise on here.
So Fitz's selection for Heat 4 is Trap 1, Great Name That. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, this heat as well just reflects the strength of the 600-yard competition. Look, it's a ridiculous heat. Like as Dylan said, it's not one you go in betting dogs in. It's just one to watch and enjoy. And to be fair, most races like that are Limerick and Shelbourne are like that on Saturday night. Just one Talking Dogs TV. Just sit down and watch the two of them. Great Name That, Ballymac Kingdom. You just know how good they are, the two of them. Like, there's no point of even trying to Great Name That. He was flying the Easter Cup. Yeah, things may not have gone right from the final stage, but look, he's just an exceptionally fast dog. 600 yards, no question about it. He'd get it. 2, no, he just enjoys straights. He's not the best bend runner, but he's just a monster fast dog. Ballymac Kingdom, he's just the most versatile dog in training. He can win 525, 550, 600, 575, 750. He can just win any trip. He's just that good of a dog. He absolutely can bomb the box, but he does dive for the fence. I could see him and Great Name That doesn't really trap, but then he flies into the corner. I could just see them getting each other's way. I think Beach Avenue's plotting 5. I think he's a great draw. No Stranger is an exceptionally fast dog, but he's absolutely no pace to bend. Like, he just looks a 750, 850 dog. He just wants, the further you put him up, the better he'll be, probably. Look, it's one for watching. As Dylan says, 2 does move off. I just don't know if he can into the race at all with these types. Ballymac Kingdom's probably going to explode from the boxes and just cut the head off him out of the box. Ballymac Kingdom will go for the fence. Look, it's just between him and Great Name That they could have a serious bucket in the back straight. I just think Beach Avenue's getting a solo on the outside. Look, if Ballymac Kingdom could clear Great Name That, you're not going to wait. If Ballymac Kingdom's in front, you're not going to pick him up or go by him at any part of the race. It's hard to pick one. Look, I'll go for Beach Avenue in the draw, but I wouldn't be too confident in any. And you could pick 2 dogs in this race and you get the bet. You're not going to wait. So look, I'll go for Beach Avenue, but this is just a race to enjoy and watch.
So Bomber's selection for Heat 4 is Trap 5, Beach Avenue. Well, lads, it's currently 1-0 to Dylan. Hopefully you've tipped up a few winners. Thanks for coming on the show, lads, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Davey.